lovely and darling viewers, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy. This time I'm reviewing Fire Touched by Patricia Briggs. This is the 9th Mercy Thompson book, and I listened to the audio for this, which is narrated by Lorelei King. So if you haven't been following along in the series, it is an urban fantasy series following Mercy Thompson, who is a shapeshifter who can turn into a coyote. She gets involved with werewolves and vampires and fairies, and it really takes on this very large mythical stance. But also, she's a mechanic from the Tri-Cities area of Washington State, and she's this very down-to-earth, very practical woman whom I just adore because she approaches problems in a way that I would also similarly approach these problems, so I totally relate to her. So, we're in book 9 now, so I would suggest going and reading the first books before you watch the review for book 9. I will post the link to book number 1, Moon Call, down in the description below if you want to watch my review for that, and the reviews for the other books in the series that I have done, which is basically every book I've read so far. Sorry, we have a thunderstorm coming in. Hopefully you can still hear me. So, in book 9, Mercy and Adam, the alpha of the local werewolf pack, are married. They're pretty much settling into their marriage. It's caused a few problems with the pack that still are needing to be sorted out, and we mostly sort them out in this book, which is kind of a relief because everyone in the pack getting mad at Mercy for not being a werewolf and marrying the alpha and how they preferred Adam's first wife was just kind of getting annoying because Adam's picked. He's married Mercy. He is not about to leave her, so just get over it. So I'm glad that that is resolved in this book. But we get to see their marriage and how it's functioning. They're still very much in love with each other. They're very comfortable with each other. The fact that they're werewolves and the fact that they share a pack bond. Mercy isn't a werewolf, but she's also a shapeshifter, and she's enough of a paranormal creature that the pack magic kind of works on her a little. And so she is still able to interact with the pack in a way that if Adam had picked a werewolf mate, they would have also been able to, which I love. Plus, Mercy grew up in another werewolf pack, so she's basically kind of just used to them at this point, and maybe even knows more about werewolves than they might know themselves because she grew up in like the head honcho's werewolf pack. So I love the everyday aspect of this. So like the book starts off with one of Jesse's friends. Jesse is Adam's teenage daughter. One of her friend's moms comes over and is basically selling Avon type stuff, but it's like essential oils and just the everyday aspect of that and how Mercy takes that in and is rationalizing it and thinking about, wow, this woman is brave. She just literally walked into a house full of werewolves and is like pushing her sales. My favorite part of the series is just the everyday stuff, and this book does not disappoint. The main conflict in this book revolves around the Fae, or the fairies, who are very strong, very powerful creatures, and they have a lot of politics happening at the time. This book is very political in that we're trying to figure out the power structures of the supernatural world in it. The real action of this book kicks off when a troll starts attacking one of the bridges nearby, and so the werewolf pack takes down the troll. But they find out that the troll was actually going after this kid named Aiden, who looks to be about 10, but he has lived centuries in the fairy world and has developed really interesting powers. So even though he is human-born, because he has spent so much time in Underhill, the sentient part of the fairy world, he has developed this firepower, and that makes him really odd and really powerful. So the fairies want him back to appease Underhill because it is a sentient place and it wants Aiden back. So if they wish to be able to go to Underhill, they need to keep it happy. Getting Aiden back would be good for that. And also because Aiden is so powerful, there are other fairies who just want Aiden's power for themselves and to be able to use it and seeing if they can replicate it and make other humans have special powers. So this kid who looks to be about 10, and in some ways is very childlike, but also he's lived for centuries and is older than so many of the other paranormal supernatural creatures. Meeting Aiden is a really interesting experience. Like, he's very old-fashioned in the way that he was brought up. It's definitely odd sometimes with our modern era. Also, the fact that he doesn't completely have control of his fire powers, so sometimes he sets things on fire that he wasn't planning on. So just everything about Aiden and his being fire touched is just so fascinating. I really loved that part of this book. I liked the internal struggles within the fairy world, getting to find out more about the Fae, getting to see some of our favorite Fae like Z and Tad show up again. So I love Z. He's like this cranky German mechanic. He's really like, I think, an ironsmith kind of thing. Like his power is with metal. I love Z so much. So getting to see him again was fantastic. And then there is also this power struggle over the fact that the werewolf pack takes an Aiden. So even though he's fairy and human, the pack is protecting him. So we get into politics around what the pack's allowed to claim as their territory. What are they allowed to protect? Is it just werewolves? Is it just the humans in their territory? Does Aiden count as a normal human, or does he count as fairy? Does the werewolf pack have any say over vampires or fairy that come into their territory? And so there is a ton of politics in this, which I thought was actually more interesting than just like rushing in and fighting a monster. We do see that a little bit, but it's also much more of a thought, very diplomatic problems that need to be solved in this book. So it's a nice break. But at the heart, I really just love Mercy and Adam and Jesse and like the pack, and just like the personal characters are really what make this story interesting. So like this series could go anywhere, and as long as we're following Mercy and Adam, I'm probably going to be game for it regardless. I went into this book not having read any of this series for like months. Like book 8 I hated so much because of Adam's ex-wife, Christy, who is so annoying. So I put the books down for a while. So it's been since I think last fall, and it's now August, since I've read any of the other books, but I was still able to jump into this and remember who these characters were and not be too lost. So if you haven't read them in a while, you can still pick this one up and jump into the next book in the series. At least I was able to. I also love the fact that Patricia Briggs keeps bringing back characters and threads from the previous books in the series and how they're tied in still. Like she talks about the walking stick, and we see it from multiple points. There's a lot of Fae that we've met in previous books that come back in this one. Even some of like the vampire stuff, like that's still getting woven in, and it's still intricately, like it's still part of the story. She doesn't ignore that they have these 8 books of past happening in it. So I love the world building of like the Mercy Thompson series. Yes, I loved Fire Touch. It's definitely a solid 4-star read. I really liked it. Let me know in the comments below if you've been reading the series. Who's your favorite character? I love Mercy, honestly. She thinks the way I would think, plus the whole being able to shapeshift into a coyote thing, and she can do it at will, so she's not a werewolf who has to change when the moon comes. Like, she has a choice in the matter. Is kind of like an appealing aspect to that. So, peace out. I love you guys, and keep reading. Bye!